late night hasn't been this funny in quite a long time. Just listen to this zinger Conan delivered last night.
I've been having a really hard time explaining the whole situation to my kids because they're still very young. Yeah, so what I did is I had a doll made of myself. Now I can show my kids exactly where NBC touched Daddy.
And wow, have you seen Letterman and Leno lately? There's never been any love lost between these two, but now it's getting even more personal. I mean, did you see this last night?
Listen to this. Conan O'Brien, he had the Tonight Show, and now he's leaving, and NBC is negotiating with him, and it's that intellectual property. He can't take his signature comedy bits with him.
And Letterman's been hammering me every night. Weird. Oh, going after me. Hey, Kev, you know the best way to get Letterman to ignore you?
What's that?
Marry him. Okay, that's the best way. He will not bother you. He won't look you in the eye. No problem at all. Just
Whoa! Joe Flint is the Los Angeles Times major domo of entertainment news. He's good enough to join us now. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
Fine. What do you know that we don't? Make some news for us here, Joe. What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think right now what we know is NBC has a task at hand to kind of do a little damage control with Jay Leno and reposition him to return to The Tonight Show.
Can they recover from this, especially everything that happens between 9 o'clock and midnight, and I guess beyond?
Well, sure. I mean, Jay Leno is bruised. John Edwards is damaged. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, Jay Leno has a fan base, and they will follow him. Whether he'll be able to immediately jump back in at 11:30 and resume beating David Letterman, that remains to be seen.
But you know what we found out today about Jay Leno? I'm only interrupting because something you just said. You said that Jay Leno is damaged or
I said
injured.
He's bruised.
He's bruised. All right. Here's how bruised he is. We ran across this. It's a Mirage website yesterday. Look at this. Tickets for some of Leno's stand-up shows were cut by half. We called the Mirage to try and ask them what's really going on here. They never got back to us. Apparently the deal switched today. Now they're down to 20% off because he probably sold enough tickets and they don't have that many left. What does that say to you?
Well, I don't want to draw a conclusion out of ticket sales for a Jay Leno stand-up show. I mean, I don't think people who don't like Jay Leno, they will continue not to like him. And I think the people who do like him, this wouldn't really change their mind because they would be of the viewpoint that Jay should have never had to leave The Tonight Show in the first place.
Huh. The cure to this, of course, is time for NBC. How about Conan? Let's move to him. I mean, how long does he have to stay off the air? And is there some kind of cone of silence that's keeping him and them from trash-talking each other like they were a week ago?
Well, I don't think there's anything stopping Conan from talking, as the clip of you just ran showed. I don't want to know what he's not saying, if that's what he is saying. He can go to another network in September. So, he has about, whatever it is, we're in January now, a little over about 8 months, and he can go work somewhere else. And, most people are looking at Fox, and, in terms of a broadcast network, that's really the only play for him. And there's a lot of things to be worked out there, but if Rupert Murdoch wants something, he tends to get it. So that's where he could end up. To your other point.
So if he goes in 8 months to Fox, does he get to keep the rest of that $3.2 million or $32 million? I'm sorry.
As far as we know, and a lot of people report, and I'm not in a room, you're not in a room, but
right.
I mean that is our understanding. I mean,
wow.
Keep in mind that his contract paid him about $12 million a year, and he had about 2.5 years left on it. So that's just sort of paying him out of his contract, and then whatever else the cost for the staff that relocated. I'm not sure, he'd get that kind of money from Fox when he goes to work there. I think he will be in for a pay cut.
It's the exact same kind of deal you and I would get if if the LA Times or CNN let us go. They'd probably say, here's $32 million. Oh, and by the way, you can get another job, and they'll pay you as well on top of that.
There'd be a 32 in it, but it'd probably be cents in my case. I can't speak for you.
Me too. Here's a question I have. I think this is interesting. A lot of the stars in Hollywood have been siding with Conan. Not all of them, but a lot of them have been siding with Conan, and they've made their statements in public. What happens when Jay Leno wants to book them on The Tonight Show? Is that going to affect the booking, you think? Does it?
Well, I don't know if Rosie O'Donnell will be popping up on The Tonight Show anytime soon. She was pretty vocal about it. ultimately, if people have a product to plug, Jay Leno needs ratings, and people need an outlet to promote their stuff. Somehow, these things get resolved. But it's interesting because Jay is taking a beating, and part of me just wonders, it's not. Was he supposed to take some vow to retire? He said he'd leave the Tonight Show. He twice wanted to leave NBC, and twice NBC figured out ways to keep him. I'm not saying who's right or who's wrong here, but the Green Bay Packers didn't tell Brett Favre, you can't go play for anyone else after you stop playing for us. No. And in a sense, that's what NBC was doing with Jay. And Conan kind of got a raw deal too here. I mean, there aren't really any winners in this, although you have to quantify loser too, when loser
the whole
means
thing,
you're walking away with $30 million.